Hi there, everyone. I am back. I'm here today to do another podcast. So, today I'm testing a little bit differently with some of the technology I have. Last time I used my phone and tried to hook up my mic to a voice recording website. Sounds didn't quite work out as well as I'd like to, so I'm going to try it differently today. So, bear with me as we try and get all of these technical stuff a little bit more uniformed, but for now, hello, welcome. So last time we had talked about things I did in how life in quarantine has gone, and life is chill. It's been a little busy. Today's been also a little busy. My mom and I had gone out shopping for groceries again because we just eat everything at home. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But other than that, today I want to kind of go over my pathway into the health field. A lot of people have asked me how I've gotten here to this point, how I got into the nursing field. A lot of people had also asked me why I chose not to go the PA or physician assistant route anymore. And so basically I kind of want to go over that just to clear up the air a little bit and talk about why my decisions changed. It's not that I did not want to be a PA anymore, and it's certainly most likely not because I thought I was unqualified for it for sure, but I do want to go into a little bit more detail about that today. So let's dive right in. Okay, so the story is a little lengthy, so make sure you grab a couple snacks or something to munch on, or if you're busy doing something, maybe you can listen to this simultaneously while you're doing your work. Totally okay, totally normal. Multitasking at its finest. Totally get it. I'm a multitasker. Love it. Alright, so let's get to the chase. So it first originally started when I had got admitted to college. So I went to Sacramento State, and I chose health science because I thought it was interesting. It sounded cool. I'm like, oh, health and science. That sounds awesome. So I chose that. And after I had gone to orientation and learned a little bit more about my major, they basically went into full detail that this major is not one that will necessarily cover your prereqs for, let's say, if you want to be a pharmacist, go into medical school, or anything of that nature. And at first I was thinking, oh my god, I think I'm in the wrong major. But after I had looked over the courses and the concentration, health science has 3 concentrations: community health education, healthcare administration, and occupational health and safety. The healthcare administration part sounded really interesting to me because at that time I was very interested in going to the medical field, the health field, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. Totally normal. I think a lot of people can relate to that. But so that's where I started. I originally wanted to go into healthcare administration. So I was like, oh, I'll take the classes, I'll get into it, go from here. And so I did. I really liked my prereqs. The prereqs were very fun for me. The prereqs were human anatomy, physiology, and I did not like statistics. I thought it would be easy math, but it wasn't. So that was kind of already a telltale sign. Maybe I shouldn't go into business. But I was going to pursue it anyway because this is something I wanted to do. I liked it at the time. So I continued with my prereqs, and I had taken a couple of the business courses that corresponded with it because I thought, oh, I can go into healthcare administration and get a minor in business. Why not? So I did. Hated those classes. Did not get it. Oh my god, those were the first C's I ever got in college. I did not pass accountancy 1. I did not get it. I remember Philo and Lelo, first in, last out, last in, last out. It's probably about it. Intro to management law, business law. Oh, I got C's in those. Econ, I had to work my butt off to try to get a decent grade in econ. Microeconomics, by the way. So that's what I decided. We're not doing this anymore. So that's where my research into more occupations and careers in the medical field started. So originally I thought, okay, I really like learning about the human body. Human body is really cool. I want to keep staying in this major because I'm already about halfway done. There's no way I'm going to quit right now. And so I looked into the physician assistant studies, the position and everything, did my research. I knew that I needed these types of courses, but I already knew I was deep into them. Also, keep in mind, I'm gonna probably ramble off here and there. At the time, my human anatomy physiology covered things, my chemistry covered things. I took microbiology for health allied students. Those covered a lot of prereqs. I thought, why not? I'll stick with it. And then whatever classes I needed to take, I can take postgraduate. That was my thought process at the time. Just keep it there. So that's when I went into community health education, where I got to dive into more of the public health side of the health field, which was fine. I really enjoyed it. I think it was very helpful. And then that was about 2014. Then once I had hit 2015, that's where I got more involved in my medical field journey kind of deal. So I began volunteering at the UC Davis Medical Center. I volunteered at the falls risk unit. So I educated patients about falls risk and how injuring yourself can definitely prolong your stay here. You probably don't want that. We don't want that because we want to get you back into better health and shape. So that's that. And then I also helped out in the nursing unit where I met one of the coolest individuals ever. She wanted to go into nursing as well at the time, but I told her I wanted to do PA. She said, okay, we help each other out. Still follow her on social media. She's very kind and she's on her way into the nursing journey. Woohoo. But that's basically where I started. And from there on, I just stayed busy, focused on how I can continue doing well in my grades and academics, basically, and held different leadership positions to basically build myself up as a great candidate and also a great student leader, because who doesn't love student leadership? So I have everything written down. That's why I'm looking over constantly, because it's a long story. Anyway, so that's all that did happened. And then 2017 I did graduate. After I graduated, I went into certified nursing assistant school immediately. Okay, maybe not immediately. I went there in the middle of summer and I started doing that. And in the midst of going to CNA school, because I was out of school, I needed a job and I needed some money, I also worked at the state fair just to earn a little bit of income, thanks to one of my great friends with the hookup. So as we were doing classroom work, I would be done and then go work for a little bit, do the whole thing again the next day. And then clinicals were 6 a.m. in the morning. So I would have worked the day before, go back in the morning and do that all over and over again until basically from July to August. It was only about a month. And then once I had finished, I immediately took my CNA licensing exam so that way I could begin working right away. And I did my clinicals I basically got hired at the place where I did my clinicals. And so that's pretty much then on. And then after that, one of my CNA classmates at the time had suggested, oh, you can also apply to this place because we know the guy that works there, he's our friend, That's what happened. And so basically I worked as a CNA at two skilled nursing facilities. And I basically worked as a CNA for a good year and a half. And let me tell you, being a CNA is a lot of work. It is a lot of physical labor because you are maneuvering patients. Again, it's a job you do not want to do alone. You do need help, whether it's another CNA or another nurse. And let me tell you, some of the best nurses that I worked with were the ones that were CNAs prior to being a nurse, simply because they understood the intense roles of being a CNA. They also knew the skills of how to help you out. And the nurses I knew that weren't a CNA prior were kind of apathetic. They weren't as understanding of the role, so it was very hard for them to help out as much as they could. That's pretty much where it all started. Both places had their challenges and their ups and downs. I worked on call, which basically means you send in your availability to let them know when you're available to work. For the majority, I worked Monday through Friday, mornings and evenings, depending on their needs. And basically, with one place, I would say, here, I'm available these days. And then whatever days they didn't fill at that place, I would typically send it to the other facility, and then they would fill in those spots. So at most, I worked a good 5 days a week for sure, basically full time. And then there were some days where I worked 6 or 7 days in a row. Why did I work so much? Because for PA schools, they require you to do a lot of hands-on clinical hours, and that's what I did. I worked a lot. So that's basically what happened. I did not take many breaks. At most, I would take maybe, in terms of breaks, I mean days off from work. At most, I would take is 1 week off here and there, just because our work gets so intensive. Nursing is a very physically laboring job, and it does require to be physically fit, because you do use your legs, you don't want to hurt your back, you need your back for your life, because you only got one back. So I stayed busy, not only with work, but I also worked out to make sure I was in the best shape possible to not only do my job, but also so that I don't injure myself in the process. I did work out those hard to reach back muscles though. I thought that was pretty cool. But basically I stayed very busy for a good year before I applied for PA schools. And so that's pretty much what happened. Once it hit about 2018, about April or May, I had began applying for PA schools. Again, so as I mentioned earlier, because of my major, at the time, I was able to cover a few of the prereqs, but for some reason, as years have gone on from that point to when I was applying, some schools had also added some requirements to their program. So basically, whatever it was at this time, they progressively built it up a little higher at the point I was applying. So it really limited my options on where I could apply to. So I only applied to 4 schools at the time. And once those were submitted, I had to wait. I submitted mine in July, so I basically finished mine up rather quickly, because they always mentioned to apply early, which you should. So basically from July until I didn't hear anything until about September, October. Unfortunately, I did get rejected. Woohoo. But rejection happens. Rejection is very common. Something I came to learn when I was applying for these PA schools. So if you're someone who's applying into the PA program, don't be discouraged if you get rejected, because it's normal. Unless you're very good on paper. Yay. But basically I didn't hear back till September, October. But in the meantime, I kept myself busy. I still worked. I did travel a little bit as well. And at the same time, I thought, how else can I improve myself to make myself a better applicant in the event I do get rejected? So I had applied for another job where I worked as a health assistant at an elementary school. And that was really interesting. It was different. Ooh, excuse me. It was different. Simply because the work was definitely not as intensive. It is in a more office setting with some clinical things here and there. So I did help children if they got hurt, injured themselves. I administered medication. So basically there was some patient care and also some health care mixed in between. Ooh, pardon me. I need to breathe because I talk really fast. Okay, so basically I worked there, but I still worked as a CNA at both my places. So as I was working Monday through Friday, early in the day as a health assistant. There would be some days in the week where I worked as a CNA. So yes, I did technically have three jobs at the same time, because why not? I was still taking courses in the middle as well. So I was taking courses, I was still working, keeping myself busy, going to the gym. So basically, kept myself busy up until I heard back from the schools. And like I said, I did get rejected. It was very stressful. It was very nerve-wracking because I felt like I worked really hard on my applications. I thought, I could have at least a little bit of a chance to get in, but it is what it is. But towards the end of the year, I found out that one of the schools I applied to, they had put me on the interview wait list, saying, you're not really rejected, but we're gonna hang on to your application and see if anyone drops, then we will ask you. That's basically what it meant. And so, comes 2019, January, I had received a interview invite, which I was very, very thrilled about. It was very exciting because I thought, oh my god, my hard work finally paid off. So I did go to it. It was really fascinating. It was really exciting. Very excited. And to my poor dismay, I did get rejected. But I did receive feedback from the school, and a lot of it had to do with they said I interviewed well. They thought I interviewed very well. I fit their program and their mission statement, all these things. They just said the main thing was being able to answer hypothetical questions. And again, that discourages you a little bit because they said you did really well, but there's just one little thing. But at the same time, I was 23 at the time, because that's so old. 23 at the time. I had only worked for about a year, less than a year and a half in these positions, so it made sense why that happened. Yes, I was very, very discouraged. I was very sad for the day I found out, but the day after, I took that energy and immediately applied for new jobs that could potentially help make me a better candidate. Basically looked into ways I can continue building my application, make myself better, things of that nature. So I didn't let it stop me from going further, but I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to laugh it off and be like, this sucks, but I will get through it. That's what I did. So that's what happened. And then one of my mom's friends, okay, not my mom's friends, my brother's friends in karate's mom, she's a doctor who also happens to know our family friend as well, so small world. She's a doctor. She had reached out to us because my mom had reached out to her, and my aunt also reached out to her, basically explained the situation, and she offered to mentor me. She basically gave me insight into what I can do to be a better PA applicant, but she also mentioned why not consider a nurse practitioner or nursing, simply because nursing is a growing field. It is something that will always, 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 always be there and in demand for. And so it's something, and again, like she was saying, and you are still part of the medical team, you are still going to help people, and there will always be opportunities to continue and grow. Parts of me were like, I don't really want to, simply because I put so much effort into this. Why would I divert myself? But once I let that sink in, I did do research about it, and I thought, why not? Maybe I can go into it, because PAs, physician assistants, and nurse practitioners, they do work at similar capacities. So I'll go into that in a little bit more. But I thought, okay, why not? So from then on, this was about February, March of last year, I did apply for other jobs at the same time. And then I also researched into nursing programs as well. And there was a new program that was coming up, and they said apply. I said, okay, why not? And so I did. They did require the TEAS test. I did not study for the TEAS test. Okay, I studied like a little bit where I studied the practice test. Not studying. Only because it was coming up really fast. The deadline was coming up. And I was like, oh my god, what do? I need to take the test ASAP. But I don't remember anything. Took it anyway. I scored decently. Per California nursing school standards, not very good. But that's okay. I was gonna go with it anyway. And so I applied, waited, and I did get an interview invite, and I took it. Went there, and immediately the interview went very, very well, and I found out a week or so later about my decision. They said, unfortunately, I did get rejected. And I had asked if I could receive feedback, because feedback is important. And they said, you interviewed very well. However, your TEAS test was comparatively low to the other top applicants. And like I said, because I didn't study for the test, it wasn't a huge bummer for me. So that's that. But then after that, I had received an invite for an interview for my last current job, which was very like, whoa, I never thought this could ever happen to me. And it's like, it was in dermatology. Whoa, I was like, wow. So, I did it. Of course, I went for it, and I got the job, and it was very stressful. I'm gonna tell you that. It was very hard to grasp everything, simply because I had never done any of this before. I was very new to it. I did stress and cry because I couldn't grasp it right away, but I was very determined to go and keep going. And part of it had to do with because I was still in classes, because at the time I was still very into trying to get into PA school, taking the additional prereqs I was missing or needed to fix. And I was only working part-time, so that also makes it a little harder, because when you're working part-time, you're not in there all the time trying to learn and grasp these skills. It's like spotty learning. It's not super consistent. So that was very rough the first 2 to 3, 4 months. But after some time, I was very, very fortunate to have very amazing coworkers and mentors to help me through this learning process. I asked for help. My doctor, the PA I worked with, and NP offered such amazing advice, and they were basically the ones I looked up to. I still do. And they helped a lot with my growth as not only a medical assistant, but as a future healthcare provider as well, because I want to keep on learning and gaining new skills and getting new knowledge, because learning is fun. But that's basically where it all started. And then after some skills and grasping it all, I got to work a lot more closely with the PA and NP, and both offered a lot of great advice. And I asked for some advice regarding PA versus nursing, because of the information I had gathered from our doctor friend, from research, and both had said nursing is a great field. A lot of nurses, especially if they plan on going the nurse practitioner route, actually, because there's a new law that was in state saying that NPs can open their own practice. They do have a lot more autonomy. It's a field that's always, always, always growing. And even they stated that nursing is a great field to pursue. There's a lot of opportunities with it. There's a lot of things you can do. And that to me was the confirmation that I needed to continue onto the nursing field. And that's basically what happened. So now this year I had applied to Northeastern's ABSN program, and I did get in, and I'm very, very excited to start. We do start on Monday, May 4th. I technically should be in Boston area right now, but because of everything else going on, it's been postponed till later, but that's totally okay. So that's basically what happened. Don't get me wrong, I made really great friends at my workplace and awesome mentors. They're people that I definitely want to keep in my life for a long time. Because they only not only helped me, they're also, I do consider them very good friends. But that's basically where I am now. So that is a whole timeline of things that happened from 2013 to 2020 of what I wanted to kind of do to where I am now. And now that I am pursuing this route, I do see myself going further in the nursing field. I do see a lot of opportunities that can come with not only this program, but also things I can do to not only further my education, because I love school. But that's basically where I am. Uh, I did get rejected a lot, denied a lot. There were other schools in the mix I also applied to for both programs where I did get rejected a lot. But I think it was my eagerness and positivity to keep going. Maybe at that point I had gotten so used to rejection that it was just normal. But I think it's made me stronger. It's made me a lot more determined to keep fighting for what I want. And that's something I'm going to keep doing until I get my end goal. But even once I reach my end goal, I'm not going to stop there. I think there's so many opportunities to keep growing and do so much more. You know, I'm excited just talking about it, just talking about my journey. It's a very long journey, by the way, so if you listened through that entire story, thank you. But I know I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep on being my successful self no matter what. I'm going to keep working hard. The work grind never stops. Remember that. So, I hope after listening through that entire piece, you gained not only a little bit insight of where I started to where I am now, but it's definitely not a straight path. It was a path that was very wonky, but I think it was the path I needed to take in order to get where I am now. I do need to thank my family, especially my mom, because she was one that helped me a lot. So of course, this is not something that you should ever do alone. If there are people in your life that can help you, or if you know people that can offer you resources, by all means take advantage of it, because this is definitely a pathway, even no matter what field you go into in the medical realm. It's something you can't do alone, just because it's hard. It can be frustrating. It can also be very self-deprecating, because it does make you question your self-worth sometimes. It happens. But don't let it consume you. Don't let that negative energy of not working out and rejections and failing stop you from doing what you want to do. So that's basically why I chose to go into nursing versus being a PA. The cards were better played out in my favor. The experiences I have had working in different settings. Also, with classes expiring, there's no way I would ever commit maybe 2-3 more years of trying to do prereqs. And knowing that there's more opportunity for me to grow as not only a healthcare provider, but as a leader, hopefully a mentor, an advisor in the future, that's something to take account for. So I don't want people to think that just because the PA route didn't work for me, it shouldn't work for you. It's just something that worked out better in my favor. It's also a lot more aligned with my end goal because my end goal is I do want to give back to future healthcare providers and work with them to get them where they need to go, simply because I wish I had that. Of course, I had it when I was working, but to have that in a very more interpersonal way, I think is very beneficial, and still do health practices and do that. I don't know, I want to do kind of a bit of everything, but I do think this is where I'm meant to be. It's been a long journey, but I think it's time for me to be where I am. And I think it's totally worth it. So thank you for listening to this entire story. I hope you got a little bit more insight into where I am now. And I hope that wherever you are in your health field journey, I hope that you get where you need to go. Don't worry if it takes a little bit of time. This is a whole 7 years in the making. Normal. Completely normal. Takes time. And there's always room to keep going. So, thank you all for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.